Is it time for the Red Sox to consider sending Tanner Houck down to AAA after yet another stinker? More on that on today's Locked on Red Sox.
You are Locked on Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked on Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Gabby Maljanian, former ESPN social media associate and current host of the Boston Balling podcast as well. And I'm here to bring you the latest in all things Boston Red Sox Monday through Friday straight to your favorite podcast feed, and it's completely free, so you might as well tune in because Locked On is your team every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. I'll definitely tell you a little bit more about FanDuel later on in today's show, but first I wanted to open it up by saying prayers up to Jason Tatum experiencing a really scary no-contact injury in the game last night against the Knicks. Had to leave the court in a wheelchair, and it was very traumatizing to watch. And I apologize if I seem a little bit off today. Definitely not a good experience. And no athlete should have to go through something like that. Really, really terrible for him. So going to do my best to talk about the Red Sox and the mess that they had last night, but definitely will have it in the back of my mind a little bit more today. But the Red Sox did have a disaster of a game last night as they lost 14-2 against the Detroit Tigers. And the biggest storyline in that, Tanner Houck struggling again. So I'm going to be talking about that on today's show, as well as Ceddanne Rafaela's resurgence this season, because he definitely has shown a lot of improvement at the plate. And I'm also going to be going over what the Red Sox could potentially do to make room for their top prospects on the team, Marcelo, Meyer, and Roman Anthony. So going into the season, we knew there would be question marks surrounding the Red Sox starting rotation, but Tanner Houck wasn't necessarily one of the question marks that we would have looked at. The question marks more were guys like Walker Buehler and Lucas Giolito, who have this big injury history, not really knowing how they were going to look upon their return, especially Giolito, because it had been so long since he had pitched in a major league game going into this year with the Red Sox. But Walker Buehler, too, just because of the fact that he has had Tommy John surgery twice, looked really good in the postseason last year, dominant for sure, but had some off and on moments. So those were the guys that I was pinpointing as more of question marks. And I would even say a guy like Brayan Bello, who struggled in the second half of the season in 2023 a little bit, and a little bit in the first half of 2024, and then started to turn things around in the second half of the season last year. So I wasn't really sure what version of him we were going to get. Now, Tanner Houck was one of the best pitchers in the American League in the first half of 2024. He was in the Cy Young conversation. He was a guy who the Red Sox really felt like they could depend on. And then in the second half of the season, things started to spiral a little bit for him, and he started to struggle a little bit. So while I thought that maybe he would struggle a little bit heading into this season, I did not think it would be to the extent that it was. He took the mound on Monday night through just 2 1/3 innings, giving up 9 hits and 11 earned runs. He walked 3 and gave up 2 homers in the contest. It was an absolute disaster for him. And that is not even an exaggeration. He did not have any good stuff, and the Tigers were all over his pitches. Now, it's definitely concerning because this isn't the first time this season that this has happened. He gave up 9 runs in the third inning alone and 11 total in the outing. He said it was probably the most lost he's ever been and just not getting the job done, which really weighs on him heavily. I mean, emotionally, it's got to be difficult for him to feel this frustrated, feeling like, okay, I can't get the job done for my team. I can't go out there and I can't do what I need to do. and get the team some wins. And that's hard for him. He just hasn't been the same pitcher since making his first All-Star appearance last season. And this is the second time this year that he surrendered double-digit runs in less than 3 innings of work, as he did it a month ago against the Rays. His ERA is now up to 8.04 through 9 starts, raising questions on if he does stay in the rotation going forward. And it truly is a question, because if I'm the Red Sox, I'm definitely debating it. I mean, I don't think people were expecting him to be this bad necessarily, but I could see people expecting him to fall off a little bit compared to what we've seen from him in the past because of the second half that he had last year. But Alex Cora did say we'll talk about it, of course, in regards to keeping him in the starting rotation right now. He had that good one in Toronto. The last one was okay, right? And today there were a lot of pitches in the middle of the zone. On the split, it was up. They put some good swings on it. The slider, he wasn't able to get it across home plate and down in the zone to lefties. Just one of those. We'll have to take a look at it and see what we do. So obviously he hasn't closed the door on the possibility of moving Houck around and not keeping him in the rotation for right now. The Tigers had gotten to him right away, even before the abysmal 9-run third inning. Just 4 pitches into the game, Houck had let up a single to Kerry Carpenter and a 2-run homer to Gleyber Torres. So immediately to start the game, he just didn't have it, and it just completely escalated from there. And the rough outing has him searching for answers that he just can't seem to find consistently. He said, if I knew, I would do it. But he will continue to try to find solutions to his pitching problems. It all depends now if that's still as a starter or possibly in a different role. He said, I mean, it never stops. It's why you play the full 162 and, trying to do my part whenever I'm out there. Just didn't do it. So he's definitely frustrated, and it's a little bit upsetting because I was rooting for Houck as a guy who was the Red Sox best starter in the first half of the season last year, and something just is not working for him right now. So taking a look back on some of his stats from last season, I mean, prior to that, he had been very solid. 2021, 2022, he had put together really good numbers. 2023, he started to digress a little bit, but then 2024 overall, he was very strong. I mean, his chase percentage was very high at 78%. So he was getting guys to chase pitches outside the zone. His K percentage was not very good. He wasn't generating a lot of swings and misses, but wasn't getting lots of guys to walk either. So he definitely had good command of that strike zone. He was generating lots of ground balls at 93%. So that was something that he was really good with. Now, right now in 2025, those numbers have dropped drastically. One of the categories in which stood out for him in 2024 was that ground ball percentage. That has now dropped from being in the 93rd percentile to being in the 78th percentile. So he is not able to generate lots of weak grounders at this point. Guys are hitting balls a lot harder off of him, which kind of also explains why he's been having problems with the home runs. So the chase percentage was at 78 prior to this year. Now at this year, that has decreased to being in the 68th percentile. So he's not able to get as many guys to chase, which speaks to his off-speed pitches a little bit, that they're catching on to his off-speed stuff a little bit more. So when you look at his numbers, there are definitely things to be concerned about. His fastball velocity has gone up relative to 2024, which is promising. His fastball last year was averaging 93.5 miles an hour, whereas this year now it's averaging 94.6. So that is a metric in which he has increased. But overall, he has gone into the poor percentiles more so than he has been in the great percentiles for a lot of his numbers. His K percentage is in the 22nd percentile this year. It was in the 32nd percentile last year. So he's getting even less swing and miss stuff this season than he got last year. So there are lots of things that are causing him trouble. His off-speed pitches have not been on point as much. He's missing his spots, and he's not having the results that he is hoping to have. Now, how can that be fixed is the real question. He utilizes a sinker, sweeper, splitter, and four-seamer primarily. Those are the four pitches that he relies on. And the sinker he uses the most at 40% of the time on average. The sweeper 35% of the time, the splitter 19% of the time, and the four-seamer just 6% of the time. But those are the four pitches that he relies on primarily. And he worked really hard to develop that sinker as a strong pitch for him. But where does he go from here? The Red Sox could decide, okay, we're going to move him to the bullpen because maybe he's not as fit to be a starter. So we'll see how he does throwing a couple innings at a time out of the pen. And it's a possibility, but then it raises the question of who does he replace in the bullpen? Because then you have a guy like Sean Newcomb, who you might feel on paper might not be the best reliever for this team, but he saved the rest of the bullpen in last night's game by pitching the rest of the game, going 5 2/3 innings, giving up 9 hits and 3 runs, but just 2 of those were earned, and he struck out 4. So he pitched for a good length, and that's valuable for the Red Sox bullpen. You want a guy who is able to string together strong outings in which they're allowing the rest of the pen to rest. And you can't throw every reliever on this team out there and expect them to be able to throw that many innings. So it comes down to you have to figure out what makes the most sense in terms of Tanner to replace in the pen. And the one thing I want to bring up in regards to that also is you don't know if moving him to the pen is just going to miraculously fix him. I feel like there's a serious root of the problem here because it's not normal for a pitcher to have 2 outings that are that bad within a month and a half time span. That is just not normal. So I truly feel like there's something seriously wrong with his mechanics right now. And in order to fix that, I think he would be better suited going down to AAA, working on his mechanics a little bit, figuring out what he needs to fix, and then coming back up. And the way they could do that is Walker Buehler is scheduled to come back soon. So when Walker Buehler comes back, instead of sending Hunter Dobbins back down to AAA, maybe consider sending Houck down so he can work down there and really reformulate his stuff to be able to improve on the areas in which he is struggling. And they can keep Hunter Dobbins up because of the fact that he has put together some impressive starts so far in a Red Sox uniform. So that's something that they could definitely explore and consider as they progress through the next month or so of the season. Now, the problem is Tanner Houck might have to make another start before Buehler comes back, and I don't know if the Red Sox would be willing to do that. And I don't know if they would be willing to have him make another start if they feel like there's something he seriously has to work on. So if that's the case, then what they could do at that point is instead of having him make a start, maybe call up somebody else from AAA, see what they have, still send him down to AAA, and then the pitcher that they call up in his place to make a start, a spot start type thing for him, that pitcher then goes back down to AAA once Buehler comes back. I just think with the way that Hunter Dobbins has been pitching and the way that Houck has been struggling, it makes a lot of sense for the Red Sox to consider allowing him to actually work on what needs to be worked on instead of just trying to throw him in the pen and hope that that fixes the problem. I've never saw him as this super long-term starter. I don't think he has good enough of a variety of pitches in his arsenal to where he can be this long-lasting starter. So I do feel like him pitching in shorter stints is better ultimately down the road. But for right now in the immediate time frame, I think he needs to work on his craft a little bit, really hone in on what's exactly going wrong for him, and then come back up. And maybe when he comes back up, consider a role in the pen. That's what I think they should do to handle the Houck situation, but we'll have to see how the Red Sox decide to handle it. And coming up, I'm going to be talking about a guy who has really emerged offensively and shown a ton of improvement this year in Ceddanne Rafaela. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game, before tip-off and live. With player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays, fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. Which players are showing up in the biggest moments, and how could tracking their trends help you build your next bet? New to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. And speaking of NBA and playoffs and all of that, it is also hockey playoffs, and NHL can also be bet on. So sometimes if you make an NBA parlay, they'll couple an NHL bet with it. They'll make an offer that says, if you bet on this too, you could win a lot more money for less. So that's always fun too, is kind of experimenting with betting on a variety of different sports. Baseball is very difficult to bet on because obviously it's a day-to-day thing and they play every single day basically. But if you're betting on both hockey and basketball simultaneously, that could be really good for you to win lots of money. So I highly recommend downloading the FanDuel app today, getting started on betting on a variety of different sports because, hey, you could make a lot of money doing it. That's for sure. The Boston Red Sox experienced a huge blowout loss against the Tigers on Monday night, losing 14-2 in the first game of the series. And for some reason, the Red Sox just don't know how to build momentum. They'll come off of a couple of good wins and then they'll lose again. They can't seem to go on a winning streak per se that lasts a long time consistently. And it's baseball. Obviously, there's going to be ups and downs. Every team struggles. Every team has outings and days where they're playing their best baseball, and that could go on for a few days, and then they go into this huge slump of not playing good baseball at all. So it's definitely hit or miss. There are certain days where things are going to go your way and days where they aren't, but the Red Sox have yet to show that they can go on this big consistent winning streak, and that's definitely been frustrating to watch as a fan. But the good news, the Red Sox can still win this series. That was only the first game of the series, so that is definitely promising. I mean, we do have to see Skubal in the series, so mentally preparing myself for that, but hopefully the Red Sox can get to him early and kind of get him out of the game. One player who recorded a hit in the game on Monday night was Ceddanne Rafaela. The Red Sox recorded just 6 total hits as a team, but he hit one of those. And the thing about Ceddanne is that he has been showing a ton of improvement offensively going into this year than what he showed last year. In 2024, he was poor for a lot of offensive metrics. Hard hit percentage just in the 31st percentile, was not able to make hard contact with a lot of baseballs and was just hitting weak balls when he was making contact. His barrel percentage is in the 46th percentile in 2024. K percentage, 22nd percentile, because he struck out a lot because he did not take pitches. Walk percentage was terrible, just in the first percentile. Literally one worst percentage that you can possibly be when it comes to his walk metrics. The difference now in 2025, his walk rate has increased to the 23rd percentile. So he's obviously still not great. Definitely should and could be taking more walks than he is, but he took a huge leap in that category. He is walking more so now than he did a season ago, and that's a big step in the right direction for him. Now, another metric that I noticed, his strikeout percentage in 2024, like I talked about, was in the 22nd percentile. His strikeout percentage now has increased to the 74th percentile. He is not striking out nearly as much as he was before. Why is that? Because he's learning a little bit more the types of pitches that he should and should not be swinging at. It still does bother me when he's aggressive every single at bat on the first pitch. He definitely should be taking some more pitches in those scenarios. But overall, in those categories, when you really look at the walk rate and the strikeout rate, those have significantly improved for him this season. And other notable areas, his average exit velocity a season ago was in just the 12th percentile, was not hitting the ball very hard. Now, this year, his average exit velocity is in the 74th percentile. So he's gaining power and he's gaining an ability to hit the ball a lot harder. And not only that, but he's hitting a good mix of singles and doubles on the season. Also has thrown a couple triples in there and a couple home runs in the mix here and there. but he hits a lot of singles and doubles. And the reason that that is good is because he has the speed to where as long as he's hitting one, even if it's a weaker hit, he being on base is a threat to opposing pitchers because he has the ability to steal bases and he's getting on base more now than he did last year. And that's something that I really like seeing from him. And I talked about it last year too. I said, the patience could come. He's still young. He's a rookie, and rookies sometimes do lack that plate discipline. A lot of times it does come with having that experience of being in the league and seeing major league pitching a lot and kind of knowing and recognizing what a certain pitcher throws well and what pitches they aren't as good at throwing and where their pitches tend to hit, where their sweet spot is, and kind of being aware of, okay, should I or should I not be swinging at this? So I said, let's be patient with Ceddanne. Let's give him an opportunity to develop a little bit at the plate. And he has looked a lot better overall at the plate so far in terms of his approach. And his fielding obviously has always been good. His arm strength in 2024 was in the 94th percentile, and it's the same thing now. His range last year was pretty poor in the 30th percentile. His range now was in the 98th percentile. So that's an area of growth that he has shown in the outfield. And he just has a really valuable arm, and his ability to go out there and play pretty phenomenal defense and utilize all aspects of the ballpark because of his speed has allowed him to be very successful. Now, I'm not saying Rafaela is some all-star hitter by any means at this point. Now he's up to a 242 average on the season, a 295 on base percentage, and a 367 slugging. So those are obviously not the best numbers on the team, but definitely a good step in the right direction for a hitter who really struggled a lot last season. And with the speed that he brings to the Red Sox roster, he's able to run down balls in the outfield, kind of like the play he made in the triangle the other day that he had to cover a lot of ground to make the catch for. And you want that athleticism. You want guys like that in the outfield. And that's another reason why Jarren Duran defensively has found a lot of success with the Red Sox, because he has the athleticism and he has the speed to where he can cover a lot of ground making a play. And we knew going into this, and the reason the Red Sox extended Rafaela primarily was because of his defense, but now his bat is starting to improve a little bit. And if you had asked me going into the season which outfielder the Red Sox should get rid of when they call up Roman Anthony, I had said that Wilyer Abreu makes the most sense because he's the least versatile. But now I can say that even more confidently in terms of the ability level of what Rafaela brings to the table. And I love Wilyer. This is definitely not a knock on him at all. But at some point, Roman Anthony is going to be ready to be called up. And, there's a possibility that it's soon. And when that time comes, the Red Sox are going to have to make a decision on that outfield. And if they want to keep everybody around, that's definitely possible because they could bring Roman Anthony in and keep Abreu and Duran in the outfield, just move Duran back to center. And then they could keep Rafaela as more of an ultra utility guy who kind of plays as needed, doesn't play every day necessarily, but he's there as a resource to be used as a pinch runner, or if somebody gets injured in the infield or in the outfield, he could be the next man up to play either of those because of the fact that, again, he's versatile and defensively he can play either in the infield or in the outfield. Because the Red Sox have extended him, I could see them wanting to make it work with him and see them wanting to find a way to keep him around. And if they want to do that, that's fine. They can definitely do that if they want. But I definitely don't want the reason that Roman Anthony gets called up and they don't know where to put him is because of Ceddanne Rafaela. They could roadblock, him if the mentality is we want to keep Rafaela where he's at and we at all costs don't want to move him around. I don't think that will be the case, but I do think that there's a lot to be said for the growth that Ceddanne Rafaela has shown this season, particularly in terms of his relative plate discipline. Still needs work with that first pitch swinging mentality every time. It's okay to go up there and it's okay to take a pitch. If the first pitch is a great pitch and you feel like it's your pitch, then by all means, don't shy away and swing at it. But generally, it's okay to go up there and take pitches. It's okay to take a strike and not feel like you have to strain yourself to swing at all of those if it's not your pitch. So I still do think that's something he is continuing to work on, but he is having a lot more productive at bats. He's hitting the ball harder and he's seeing the pitchers a lot better in terms of that swing recognition and his decisions. Still work to do, but I really like the progress he has made, and I think it shouldn't be ignored because I do think there were a lot of people that were giving Rafaela a hard time after last season, and I said, okay, let's just allow him to improve and make strides at the plate because he was only a rookie, and now we're seeing him play a little bit more confidently and play as a guy who wants to go out there and have productive at bats. So hopefully that continues for him. And coming up, I talked about it a little bit already, but how can the Red Sox incorporate guys like Marcelo Meyer and Roman Anthony when they come up? That's coming up next. Just a reminder that you can check out Locked On Red Sox on YouTube or any podcast platform. Monday through Friday, I am here to talk about all things related to this team. And you can get new episodes from me every day, even if it's a frustrating day and even if the Red Sox are not winning, I am still here. You can still be here too. So check it out on YouTube or any other podcast platform. I also do appreciate you making Locked On Red Sox your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the all new Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. The Game Night Show is great because it truly will keep you up to date on every game that has gone on. So make sure that you check that out wherever you listen to podcasts next. Red Sox recorded a 14-2 loss against the Detroit Tigers last night, hoping for a good bounce back from the team today. Tanner Houck struggled in his start, and something has been off with him this year in terms of his mechanics, and I really hope that's something he can go figure out, maybe back down in AAA, or if the Red Sox decide to move him to the bullpen, maybe that's where they feel like they see him best fit. But either way, something needs to change here, instead of just throwing him into the fire and allowing him to continue to struggle like that. So I am interested in seeing how that all plays out. But obviously, in the midst of the Red Sox struggling, we would be remiss to not acknowledge the youngins that the Red Sox have, the talent in the system that is going to eventually be coming up, even the young talent on the team who has been contributing a lot. And you have guys like Roman Anthony and Marcelo Meyer in AAA right now who are both balling out in AAA, and it feels like those call-ups could be coming soon for both of them. Now, when it comes to Roman Anthony, he in particular has shown nothing but positive growth in his time in the Red Sox organization, and he's hitting confidently, and he is really showing a dominant sense of swing selection in the minors right now. That's something that is going to translate for him in the major leagues, is his ability to recognize what to and not to swing at. And that's going to be key for a rookie. Defensively, he definitely has also been solid. Could use a little bit more work there, but I think his call up could be coming up sooner rather than later, because he's just playing very well right now. So the question then becomes, if the Red Sox want to call up Roman Anthony, what does that look like from a position player standpoint? Because right now they have Abreu in right field, Rafaela in center, and Duran in left. Duran played a lot of center field last year. So Roman Anthony, if he gets called up, likely would go to left field. In which case, then what do? You leave Abreu in right field. You could shift Jarren Duran back to center and then make Rafaela an ultra utility guy, like I mentioned in the last segment, and put him into a spot in which he's coming and playing if guys get injured, or more on an as-needed basis, or based on matchups and who's pitching that day. Maybe you put him in. So that could be more of the role that Rafaela plays on the team. And then you have Roman in the everyday lineup. Now, that's something the Red Sox could consider unless they want to go the route of trying to trade one of their outfielders for pitching, possibly, and they could get a lot of value because they have the talent in the outfield. Now, Jarren Duran offensively has been a little bit shaky lately, but with his versatility, the Red Sox definitely could put together a package that includes him and maybe another player and get some good pitching in return, depending on the ability level of the other player. So that's another route they could go, is saying, look, we feel like this talent would be better spent if we move on from one of them because we have this really special talent in Roman Anthony coming up. So if we move one of our current outfielders to make room for him, but we get pitching back in return, that could be a really good deal for us. So that is another route they could take there. Then when you look at Marcelo Meyer, he is hitting very well in AAA right now, actually generally hitting better than Roman Anthony. He definitely could use some work a little bit in terms of his plate discipline, but overall, a lot of the aspects of his game are going to play very well in the majors. Solid defense, really good arm, really good footwork to play in the infield. So he is going to likely be the shortstop of the future. I would say, there's a chance he could play second base, but why would he? Because what are they going to do? Kick Christian Campbell out of that role? A guy who they spent so much time being super excited about? That's not happening. But the question is, what happens right now? Because Trevor Story is still there and Trevor Story is healthy. It would be a little bit different if Trevor Story got hurt and maybe the Red Sox were thinking about giving Meyer that shot. But the problem is they are still committed to Story for another few years. So what happens now if they really feel like Marcelo Meyer is ready? What could they do with Story? One option is they just eat the money for his contract and they put him on the bench, and he's kind of there as this veteran leadership presence who isn't on the field every day as much. But defensively, the Red Sox should expect, if they do that, that there could be a little regression in the Red Sox infield defense because they're losing Story's glove. So that's one thing to think about if they were to call up Meyer and put Story on the bench. Another thing they could do is they could try to trade Story to another team and be willing to take on a good portion of his salary, because honestly, his value would not be that high right now because of the fact that he spent a lot of time in Boston so far injured, and the time that he has been here healthy, he has struggled at the plate. So in order for a team to want to take him on, the Red Sox might have to eat some of the salary there, as well as give up another piece too, which they could do if they really felt confident enough in Meyer being ready to be in the majors. So that's another thing they could consider. But either way, there are going to be some decisions they have to make here. Why haven't these guys been called up yet? A lot of it has to do with service time. Once you hit a certain number of days playing in the minor league system, then the Red Sox get another year of control on these players. And they don't want to call them up a little too prematurely and lose a year of control with either of them. So that's one of the biggest reasons right now why they are still in the minors, but also because it's a hard decision for the Red Sox to make. Because if you have guys who are playing well, you're taking a risk by calling up a rookie, not knowing how he's going to perform in his first year. And if he's struggling early on, then you lost a talent that you had in that spot that was getting the job done. So it's a really hard decision and a toss-up. They will get their opportunity at some point. I don't see it being immediately right now, but I do think at some point it will happen. So hopefully things play out the way we want them to. As a Red Sox fan, we really need that right now. Like I do always say, and this applies to both the Red Sox and the Celtics right now, keep the faith. Go Red Sox, and I'll catch you on the flip side.